Well, welcome back to Life on Cars, and as you can see, we are not in the garage today. We are out and about in sunny Vancouver, British Columbia. Yes, we're in British Columbia, Vancouver, because I'm on my holidays visiting some family as well while we're here. We've had a wonderful time, but also, you know what I'm like, I can't help it. Always on the lookout for classic cars, and we're off to see something a bit special. Today, we've got a friend who has a Porsche 911. So the guy we're going to see, he's called Andrew, and the vehicle, it's a 1980 Carrera SC, a 930 body on it, I believe. But what's special about this car is he's owned it from, well, the family has owned it from new, but we'll let him tell us a bit more about the car when we get there. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this one. Should be a bit unusual. So you'll join us in a minute when we arrive at the meeting point. See you in a bit. Always feels a bit strange when you're British and you're sat in the right hand side of the car being driven by someone in the left hand side. Thank you, Craig, for driving us today.
No problem, anytime.
I'm feeling quite safe with Craig because he's lived in Vancouver now for nearly a year, so hopefully he can get us there safely.
Hopefully no crashes.
Okay, hi Paul.
You're right. Tell me a bit about this amazing car then.
So this car has been in my family since new. My uncle purchased it in Southern California in '79.
Wow.
He went into a dealership and he actually originally he wanted a 930 turbo, but they did not have any available. So there was an SC there, and the SC was actually reserved for the owner of the dealership.
Right.
But then my uncle he basically asked them, he said, what can we do to turn this into a 930 without getting a 930?
Right.
So he asked if they can get the Porsche big wing whale tail, and they said, yep, that's no problem. But then he asked if he can get the steel factory flares from Germany. And so the dealer was like, well, I'm gonna have to make some phone calls. So, I'll get back to you in a few days. So a few days passed, he calls my uncle back and he said, we can get you the steel flares from Germany. So this is not a factory wide body.
Right.
Those are very rare.
So it was actually, so let me just ask, so that was done when it was new? It was actually flared
Yes,
out?
yeah, that's right. So it actually didn't even leave the dealership until it was all done. So basically they replaced the rear trunk, and they cut into a brand new
back wing.
the flares. They cut into them, installed the factory Porsche flares, and then painted it all.
That's unbelievable.
Which is, when you really think about it, like back then, late 70s, even early 80s, like the aftermarket market isn't like what it is today, right? Today, there's so many manufacturers, like, aftermarket manufacturers, but even OEM aftermarket parts, right? Like that's a huge part of their sales in dealerships, to be able to sell, parts to put on a car. But back then, there really wasn't a lot. So, just even asking if they could source these, factory flares was probably caught the dealer a little bit by surprise.
Yeah, because nowadays it's quite common to do retro mods.
Yes.
and take a later 911 and then sort of turn it backwards a little bit.
Yes.
Take it back. But back then that was probably something a little bit unique.
Yeah.
So was that done here then in Canada, was it?
No, Southern California. So in Los Angeles. And
Right.
yeah, so it was my uncle's car. And it's been with him, and then when I turned 21, he drove it up and gave it to me.
Wow.
I ran it into the ground. I did not take care of it for many, many years because I was a stupid 20-year-old with a Porsche. I didn't know how to maintain it. I didn't know how to do any of the maintenance myself. I couldn't really afford to do a lot of like the, kind of the...
But you drove it, which is
I
amazing.
drove it. And then I moved to the States and I moved around, and during that time I actually put this into storage, which, as you know, somebody who works on old cars, that's probably one of the worst things you could do. You would think, put it in the garage, put a tarp over it, leave it, it's gonna be totally fine, but things start to break on it on its own. Yeah. Gaskets start to wear out, dry up, the liquid, all the fluids, everything. So it took a lot of work to get it back into running shape. Was
there any corrosion on it at that point?
No, I mean, there's a little bit of a corrosion in the spots that normally these cars would see, but because this was a car from California, it saw very little precipitation. So, I mean, that is a big thing for collectors. They usually look for older Porsches from areas where there's less rain, basically.
These are nice.
Yeah, they are. This is one of the things I want to fix, actually, or not fix, but if you look back here, they're not quite the right size for the flares. So I do have spacers on them, but they're not quite as...
Out a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, also wider, right?
Yeah.
So I have I believe like an inch spacer, maybe a little bit more than that. But I might change it to some other wheel. I haven't really decided, or, go back with this look.
That looks lovely.
Yeah.
Looks really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice and clean. I mean...
So you were saying, so once you got it up and running...
Yes.
And you got it kind of restored, if
Yes.
you like, or
Yes.
back, recommissioned,
Yes.
as we call it.
Yes.
So how long ago was that?
5 years ago. Was it 5 years ago, Cecilia?
Was it?
4 years ago.
And now it's just a nice weekend car?
Yeah, I'm not finished with it. There's still a lot. Like I said, the wheels aren't quite the right size. I do want to change out the full exhaust system. So 911s have a very strange exhaust system where it's also part of the heating system.
Yeah.
So I'd like to switch that all out to stainless steel exhaust. I might have the pipe come out in the middle. I haven't really decided on which brand and which exhaust system to go with.
Exhaust at the moment?
Right now it's all standard. It's except the cat has been removed like years and years ago. There's no AC, which there's some days that I kind of wish I had AC. Even though this is Vancouver, it does get quite hot. That's something else. Is like, you know, when you start putting things back into the car, you're putting weight back into the car, and it's like, oh, you know, do I really want to do that?
But it's pretty cool that you'll have all the history of this car from day one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's still got like the original decals and things on it from the factory, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
And
you know,
obviously the seats with a bit of patina and a bit of wear as well.
I'm so glad you pointed that out because I think sometimes a restoration can go almost a little bit too far.
Yeah.
People get obsessed with basically making everything look new, like as if it was in a time capsule, and that's not really.
What's nice about this is you don't worry about using it either.
Yeah.
You're going to take me for a ride out in this car, aren't you?
Yes.
Great.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely takes me back to my Volkswagen Beetle days.
Kind of sounds like a Volkswagen.
It does a little bit, yeah. Ah, it's lovely.
It definitely opens up more. It wants to be at high RPM.
Yeah,
Like,
it does.
The engine almost feels, I mean, it's weird to say, but it almost feels happier when it's revving higher. I think between second gear and third gear is a lot of fun in corners.
Yeah.
Because you can really enter a corner at the right engine speed, right? And then come out of it very aggressively, but still under control.
It feels quite stiff on the suspension. Is that a stiffer suspension than standard, would you say?
This is Elephant Racing did the whole suspension.
All right.
So it's set up right now a little stiff, and I could.
Are they
adjust the
adjustable?
height.
Are they?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely
What, for
adjustable.
firmness or for
Yeah.
height?
So I think right now, I'm just trying this new setup right now. I might go a little bit lower.
Yes. We've picked a good night for this, haven't we?
Yes. That's magic hour too.
Oh, that lovely straight flat six. It's fantastic.
It's hard to really feel what the suspension can do on city streets, but when you find a windy road,
Yeah.
like a country road where there are no cars around, it's just the sound, the way the body kind of reacts to the corners. Even the stock suspension, just the weight distribution of this car, it builds a lot of confidence, right, in the driver, because it just feels like it's on rails. Now, the caveat to that is, of course, if it was a 930, as you know, that nicknamed the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
And,
when that turbo,
Yeah, and then when the turbo kicks in, actually, I had a 930 owner tell me once that it says it's like throwing a dart backwards.
Yeah.
Where the back end really, really wants to turn around.
The thing is, though, I quite like a naturally aspirated engine. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's less to go wrong. There's less to worry about. It's still quick. It's still.
Do you know? Like, how fast do you really need to go?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think I ride motorcycles as well, and I think one of the things that really appealed to me with cars like this, and even motorcycles to some degree, is the sensation of speed without necessarily really going that fast. Of course, you can go fast, but you still get the same kind of exhilaration
Of course you do,
at a slower speed, where it's, you know, obviously it's appropriate for where you're driving.
There's something about being in a classic car though, especially a Porsche, on a night like this, just going for a little spin. Sounds great.
I'd like to, I really want to change the exhaust system. It's not cheap, but it's definitely something that's been on my mind for quite a few years now.
Yeah,
I don't think I would go,
The thing is, you don't want something that's going to be so loud that you don't hear that wonderful flat six.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah. I don't think I would necessarily go much louder, but I'd like to have the harmonics a little bit lower.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If that makes any sense.
I
mean, I heard your Jag. It sounds awesome.
Because the flat six has a noise all of its own, you know. It's
That's another thing too. Is I've been considering upgrading the fuse panel to a modern, like blade style switch fuses, because these use the old torpedo tubes.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Andrew, for bringing this Porsche down to show your beautiful 911 to show me today.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I've really enjoyed looking around it. Yeah. What's your plans for this car then, moving forward?
Like I said, you know, any type of work on this car, even if you did it yourself, is quite expensive. So I have to pace myself. Like I said, there's a few things I still need to get sorted. I'll probably do that within the next few years, but I plan to keep this long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely lovely as it is. I mean, it doesn't, it's not crying out for anything, is it?
No, I mean, there's some little, you know, touch-up areas with paint. You know, there's always, you know, something this age, there's always something either broken or about to break. So, you know, just the other day when we first spoke, or when I first spoke with Craig.
The indicator.
No, with the, it's stuck on high beams.
Oh, did it?
So, and then that's like, you know, every week or two there's something new, right? So.
Well, that's it. I mean, the thing is with things like this now, the switch gear is getting a bit old, and you know, things start to wear. And, but I think the main thing is if you keep using it, get it out as many weekends as you can, especially when the weather's good.
That's right.
That'll keep it ticking over nicely.
Yeah.
And, go from there. But yeah, fantastic car. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Well, there we go then. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks very much to Andrew for bringing that Porsche along. Something a bit different for us to see here on Life on Cars, wasn't it? And thanks very much to Craig for setting up the meeting as well. You know, looking around that Porsche 911 and having a ride out, it really did remind me of my very first car, my VW Beetle, because the two do feel very familiar. And I've got a real passion for things that Ferdinand Porsche was involved in. Some of you might know I did buy a Porsche Boxster, a 986 Boxster, which I had for a couple of years. Really enjoyed that car. And if you look right back on some of the very early videos on Life on Cars, you'll see a couple of videos on the the Porsche Boxster. You know, I had a great holiday in Vancouver, Canada, and I did actually see a lot of other classic and interesting cars. So there's going to be a second episode on some of the vehicles that I saw in Canada, so watch out for that. What else is coming on Life on Cars soon? Well, I need to give you a bit of an update on the Jaguar XK and also an update on the MR2, so watch out for that. And then obviously we're going to be carrying on working on this lovely Rolls Royce. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because it all helps with the YouTube algorithm. It doesn't cost you anything to like and subscribe, so make sure you click that button. So take care everybody, and I'll see you all again very soon with something else on Life on Cars. Bye bye now. Bye bye.